Hi, today we're going to go over the Sparkbooth software. This is a high-level overview of the Sparkbooth software. It's going to go through the different features and functionalities with the purpose of helping you get started quickly. I have already double-clicked the Sparkbooth icon, which opens up in this screen here. And over to the left here, you will see that there is the settings icons. I'm going to start at the bottom here. This icon here with the 4 arrows in the corners, this icon, if you click it, is the minimize button. So Sparkbooth will start and fill up your screen, and if you want to get out of that screen and get to the Windows desktop, you would click this button. The next button up icon is the camera settings. So I'm going to click on this. Now, depending on which type of camera you're running, you would be preset with a camera source that would be the DSLR camera or the webcam. Right now, I'm set up for demo purposes using the webcam, and we would have the take webcam photo checked. If it was a DSLR, there'll be some additional settings in here. However, we do set them here, and there are some other setup tutorials that will show you. You will not spend a lot of time or shouldn't have to access this very often, if ever. The next icon up is the screen settings. This screen settings is a start screen, which is the UI that you see in front of you. Right now, there are different themes that are set up in the UI. So right now it's set to red curtains, which you see up here at the top. It's a theme. If I change it to retro, it changes the theme to Sparkbooth's retro look. There's spring, Easter, wedding, waves, all kinds of options in here. I'm going to leave it on the red curtains for the purpose of the video. So this is nothing more than just the look and feel here. There is something in here that I want to mention. You can do a custom background. Custom background is the capability of being able to browse to an image and select your own photo or something that you want to put up here. You can tile it, you can center it, you can fill it, stretch it, just like a screensaver or something like that. And so you can change this on the fly, or you can set it up for a branded event if you want, instead of using one of the built-in themes. There's a banner, which you can also turn on or turn off. The banner is something that would show up at the top, and you can just add a logo on top of the red screen or one of the other branded ones if you would like to do that instead. Another branding option on the cover screen is use cover screens. Right now it's set to blank, but suppose we wanted to put an image right here in the middle. This could be, again, a logo or something like that right in the middle. It could be a photo during my event, which is something that we do. We go and at a wedding, and we'll often, after the bride and groom come through, we'll come over here and browse and attach their photo right to the start screen. So the rest of the guests see the bride and groom's photo booth photo as they're coming in. So use this as you like. Leave it at blank if you want. The other options here. Start button enables a button to be viewed at the bottom, which says touch here to get started. An album button is the ability for the album to show up here, which we'll go into a little bit later, but the album enables users to be able to come back at a later time and reprint or repost or resend an image. And you can change the text. So instead of view album, view images, view photo booth pictures, whatever you want to say. We have the start screens turned on. If we turn them off, then it would be on live view all the time. If you have a DSLR, you always want to have your start screens on. Start screens will keep your camera from being in a live view mode at all times, which after about 28 minutes could burn up your camera. So we recommend leaving the start screens on. Cover screen, again, that turns it into a blank right now, but we can also do image or slideshow. You can also turn on the layouts, which we'll go through in a minute. These options here, change photo layouts, change photo effect, that would be black and white, color, or sepia, change screen overlay. Those things would be something that we would turn on in the settings, and then we would turn it on to make it available to our customers. You want to have the cancel button turned on. That'll be a little red X down here below. Cancel enables when we start. If we want to cancel,
get ready.
We can hit this cancel button after it gets started, which is a nice to have, especially if somebody accidentally gets started, or if you're just doing your setup and you accidentally touch it and need to hit the cancel button, I would leave the cancel button on. Show button toolbar, that's this toolbar that we have here. You can turn that on or off. And touch screen to start, that's something that you can turn on. You would want to leave on so that when your guest touches a screen or you touch the screen, it will start. Even though it says press to start down at the bottom, that's our button that we turned on here. Start button. So if we hit that, then right now it says press spacebar to begin. We could change that to touch screen to begin, but it's in the middle of our curtain, so I like to use the button. So let's turn that start button on. And even though it says press here, press to start, the whole entire screen is enabled since it is a touch screen, because I have click or touch screen to start, so you could actually touch any part of the screen to get started. I'm going to hit close and we'll go up to the settings menu. From the settings menu, we're going to start at the top tab. On the left hand side, you'll see all the tabs. If you ever are trying to go in and figure out what to do next or what might be going on, these are your best hint, because they're nicely laid out and they're laid out by category. So everything here, if you are looking for something, if you need to go to photo layouts, you go here. If you need to go to something about printing, you would go here. Let's start at the top. This is the about. The about tells us which version we're on. This is pretty important for this video because this is version 4.2.126. It's January 8th, 2016, and it's likely by the time you see this, there'll be a newer version and the UI may have changed a little bit. But for the most part, the setup and everything will remain the same. This dashboard shows us that we're online. Whatever down here is green is what's on. Whatever is red is turned off. So we're online. We're have our send to account and send to guest. All these are turned off. It's set up to auto print. So that's where we're set right now. You won't go here unless maybe if you were to contact us having a problem or contact Sparkbooth, someone might ask you what version you're running, and this is where you might be able to go quickly and find out what version you have. Next, we're going to go to Photo Layouts. Photo Layouts is where the photo layout editor resides. Now, inside the photo layouts, you have all of these different pre-built templates, which are starter places. Some of them have little hearts next to them, which indicate their favorites, and they're going to be at the top. Usually, baseball themes, we will go in and unfavorite them. So I'm going to make this not a favorite by checking the red heart, so that it's not at the top, because I'm not going to use that very often. And then Here's another one that's a baseball, and I'm going to unfavorite that one just at the moment. It's not that it disappears, it's still going to be in here, but it won't be at the top of my list. But I'm going to keep 1x4 duplicate at the top. We're going to work on this as one to edit. So in order to edit a template, this is where you will spend most of your time. The first thing you're going to do is go into the layout editor. So I'm going to click on this button. Now I'm clicking on the 1, clicking on the 2, clicking on the 3. Nothing's happening. The first thing you want to do is go to this first icon at the top that says clone layout. We're going to create a clone, and it's going to ask us to rename it. So I'm going to use my keyboard, and we're going to make this a 1x3 duplicate test layout. And I'm just going to say OK. Now when I click on 1 and click on 2, these actually move and they actually highlight, and we can see the guidelines as we move them. So the first thing that I'm going to do with this layout is I'm going to click on 4, and we will hit the trash can and make a delete, and then delete this one. So we're going to make this so that it has 3 photos. The left is the same as the right, and the Sinfonia CS2 will automatically cut this strip in half. Now what I want to do is take this, and I'm going to highlight, click on 3, and hold the shift and click on the right side. And I'm going to use the arrow down button so that I can just bring this down. I'm going to come up and click on 2 and hold the shift key and click on the right 2. And I'm going to arrow down this one as well. And additionally, I'm going to move it over so that there's even spacing between them. Now let's do the same thing. Click on 1 and hold the shift key, click on the right side, and we will arrow down and make even spacing. Now while we're moving things around, let me show you what's going on. If I click on the 1 on the left, we have an X and Y coordinates over here, with X being 15 and Y being 147. On the 2, it shows 20 and 47, so, or 20 and 632. We want our X to be the same, so I'm going to go to 15. So now X on 15 for the top, X on 15 for the 2, and X on 15 for 3. So these are perfectly aligned. Now I'm going to go to the 1, and this is 615 at 148. And this one is 620, so I'm going to go and take this down to 615. And what it's doing is just realigning it so that it's lined up perfectly. 615. 609, so let's go to 615. Okay, now we have them pretty well aligned. You could even get more technical and change the spacing till they're real even. The wide is a little bit wider at the top, so we could hold the shift key and bring these down a bit to make that white space a little more narrow. With this template, now what I have is some space at the bottom for my typical event information, and even some space up at the top if I wanted to put our own photo booth company brand name up here, if I want to put a name or a URL or whatever information I want to share. There's a little bit of space. So, and I do like the 3 photo templates. 3 photo templates is a good timing for people when they are actually taking their photos. There's usually 5 seconds between each photo, and that's 15 seconds and 5 seconds to get ready, and that's about all the time that they have in their party world to stay focused on this photo booth thing. 4 seems to be a little long, but you may rather have a 4 template, and you could always go back to the other one. They're always there. So we've done this here. Now what you see is an 1200 pixel by 1800 pixel, and we have it right here, wide, 1200 wide on the right by 1800 high. These pixels are the size of that white border or background. If we were to hit close, then our photo would be white with 3 photos in here. But before we do that, let's add some text. So you can click on the text icon up at the top right, and then we can add our text. You can move it over here on the right hand side. We can change it to do test today. And maybe that's a little bit large, so I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Here I'm adjusting the size on the right, and maybe we want to make it on one line and then move it and then make it up, and then let's say we'd like to add the date. So here we're going to add the date. Let's just do the year 2016. And then we'll move this down. What if we want to make that a different color? Then with that highlighted right there, we can come over and choose a color. And we can go back and change this one to a different color as well. So now we have our text here. You could add text as you like. What you do to the left side, you need to do to the right side. So you need to add text on the right side. And then that's set at 94. So we want this one to be set at 94. It's on one. So we're going to use this, and we're going to watch those guides. And then we want to change that to blue. And then we're going to add 2016 on the right. And make that red. And move it down below. Now our left is the same as the right, so that we will get 2 copies, photo 1, photo 2, photo 3 on the left and right side. The white space is the border or the background, which is size 1200 by 1800 pixel. Now you can add a background by simply going over here and choosing a layout and picking an image of some size. And if we had an image that was size 1200 by 1800, they would actually fill this white space with that image. This image isn't filling that because it's giving us a note over here that it's not the right size for that. You can do that with any color, with any image, a JPEG file, and you just want it to be size 1200 by 1800 pixel JPEG file. And you can make that white background into whatever color or texture you have. One resource that we found is Etsy.com has digital papers, and you can go and find digital papers that you can fill in the backgrounds with cool and different textures and papers that you may want as an effect. The other option is to add an overlay. Now, an overlay would typically be could be a border, could be a logo, could be any piece of art, but it's going to be a PNG file. A .png file with a transparent background will float over the top of everything. And we don't have one in here, but so it's not going to float over the top, but an overlay is going to sit on top. If you get a PNG file with a transparent background, You can have that logo or border or piece of art. It could be a flower sitting up here. It could be a logo. It could be anything you like if it's the right file format. Alternatively, you can fill in this white background by coming up here and add an image file. So let's try that. I'm going to choose this one right here, this image file. Then I'm going to rotate this image file, and I'm going to size it to cover the entire white area. This is pretty powerful for Photobooth software to be able to do this. Now it's covering over everything. So now what we want, because it's over the top, we want to change the order. So we're going to send it to the back. And now we have that JPEG file just covering the white, and that's the way it's going to print. So you can also kind of trick the system by just adding an image file and then resize it and make it cover that white area. It's a little bit crooked, so we'll turn it so that it's straight. This would work just fine. It can sometimes be a little trickier, and I will say a little buggier, because this isn't the way it's designed. This is something that you would normally just take that image and use it as a logo or something on your template. So if you have a logo and it's not going to be an overlay or anything, you can add an image. You can add your logo as an image. What you do to the left, you want to do to the right. So here we're kind of crooked, doing something with the add an image file, which typically would be a logo or something like that. Now that we have our template the way that we want it, we're going to hit close, and it's going to save that file, and the old one is going to go to the left. It's not disappearing, and the new one comes to the right. If I hit close and start the photo booth, this is the layout that it's going to use. It's going to use this one right here. So if I were done and at an event, I could hit close and we could get going right now. So that is the general overview of how to do a layout with Sparkbooth. We'll get into some more advanced tutorials at a later time. And we will move forward now onto the general settings. The general settings talk about you can have this sound turned on or off just by clicking this button. We have it so that it hides the mouse cursor, so there's not a mouse cursor standing in front of the on our red curtains at any time. We are going to turn the select screens timeout down to none, and the preview, we have the photo preview turned off. The photo preview is something that after every photo is taken, it slides the image in and shows the photos. In this case, it's going to show them the photos anyways, so we typically turn this off just to save time. But if you wanted to turn this on, it's like kind of like having a mini slideshow of the photo session right after it just took place. But it will slow your line down. You have a done message display. The done message display can say whatever you like, and we usually leave that between 3 to 5 seconds. You can adjust that as you like. There's an upload timeout option, so if you're sending images through Facebook or somewhere and you want it to time out after a certain amount of time, in case there's no internet or not enough bandwidth, then you can adjust this right here. This is start full screen. I recommend you keep that turned on so that when you start Sparkbooth, it will fill the screen. These are the keyboard shortcuts. You can spend some time in here if you like. You need to have the on-screen keyboard turned on so that users can utilize your Facebook or upload settings if you choose to turn that on. There is a couple of things here that we need to mention. One is Control-L will toggle the application to lock. Let's show you that. I'm going to hit close, and right here you see the settings icons. On my keyboard, I'm going to hit Control-L. Now that disappeared. So now my Photobooth users can't get into the back as easily, if at all. They have to have a keyboard and hit Control-L to make that come back. I honestly have never had anybody go into those settings. We always have an attendant on site, and we leave those settings up there just in case we need to get to them. But you can do that if you like. You can also set a password. I don't recommend setting a password into this because we can't get into it. There's some steps that we have to go through to unlock it if you forget that password. But it is possible if you had something that was going to be very public and you wanted to password protect it, you can do that. Photo effects are the ability for Sparkbooth and the user to do color, black and white, sepia, pop art, comic book, some different options. If we have this turned on, then we also have to go back to the UI settings and turn on the photo effect screen where it'll say select photo effect and press next. So let's look at that. The user comes up and they press start. The first thing it says is select photo effect and press next. It has color, black and white, sepia, photomatic, pop art, comic book. So let's cancel that out. I'm going to go back in here and we're just going to turn it off here so that there are no photo effects offered to our users and go back to the settings. So it's turned off for our user, but it's turned on in the back. We just leave it on if we ever want to turn it on. You can also narrow it down. Let's say you don't want to offer these options, but you want color, black and white, and sepia to be turned on. You could turn those on or off as you like. There are voice effects. The default is a female voice. There you can do custom voices, so you can upload a WAV file into here. You can do no voice, which Andy, Bert, Santa Claus, different options here. The default is nice with the female voice. We typically leave it there. On the countdown, you want this turned on so that it's going to count down before each snapshot. We typically have this only on the expanding timer. You could do random. They have fingers, flipping, counter, spinning words. The point here is just to get the user's attention and to give them a note, notify them that it's about to take a photo. 3 to 5 seconds is a good range to stay in for the photos. You can use this to manage your line queue. If you have a public event and you're trying to get a lot of people through, you may take this down to 3 seconds. If you are running short on paper and you need it to take a little bit longer and eat up some time, you could go up to 5 seconds or longer. So 5 seconds is going to be about 20 seconds per photo booth guest. And 3 seconds is going to be about 15 seconds per photo booth guest. Screen overlays is the next tab down. Screen overlays allows the user to do something kind of fun where they're behind in the first photo. They're going to be with the crab. In the second photo, they're going to be with the surfboard, the third photo in the water with the shark, and the fourth photo in the aquarium with the fish. There are other options in here. Eyeglasses, stand-in, mustaches, pirates. So in the first photo, you're standing with the pirate. In the second one, you're standing with the second pirate. In the third photo, the third pirate. If you have 4 photos, there's even 4 of them here. There's a couple of other options in here. One is like look at the camera, so you could have signs, and you can build these. They're PNG files, so you could add your own PNG with a transparent background to have your own in here. Fun options, screen overlays are nice to have at parties and other events. Now we're down to the different options for collecting data. Prompts. Prompts is the ability for you to capture information from your guest. You might be at an event where you're trying to collect information so that you can contact your guest later. You might have a commercial client who wants to collect information, name, email, phone numbers, at the end of every photo booth session. You can choose what you want to collect: guest name, guest email, guest phone, and it's going to be saved in this file path right here. You can change that to wherever you want, and it's going to be a TXT file. The .txt file could later be opened and exported for your use or for you to share with your client if you want. Saving. The saving tab is the ability to change where you are saving your images. So let's go over this a little bit with how we typically set this up. We recommend on the desktop there is a Photobooth Picks All folder, and inside that folder will be all of your events. Each event will have its own date, and Sparkbooth will create a date and a folder every time it started and put those images in there. So this, when you get your Hootbooth Photobooth set up with Sparkbooth, it should be already set up this way. If not, you want to set it so that there is on the desktop a folder called Photobooth Picks All, and that is selected here with the saving. In your camera photos you have individual photos and you have camera photos. Individual photos are the singles. They are the photos that are going to be all the individuals. And what we recommend here is that inside here you have a folder called individuals, and you select that folder in the Photobooth Picks so that all the individual images are saved in there. It's not going to create a date for each one of those events. So if you're going to use those individual images, you need to go in there and grab them after each event. You can do animated GIFs if you want to do that. You can turn this on here. You can change where they're being saved, and you can put a delay on your GIF so that when it is compiling the images, it can make it fast or make it slow for your animated GIF. Printing. Typically, you're going to see in here with a Hootbooth, a Sinfonia CS2 printer is going to be selected. Once that's selected, you will not need to access this area again. What you may change is whether or not you want to enable printing, automatically print a copy. You can prompt to print, and you can prompt to print copies. You can put a max number of reprints or copies so that guests can only do a few at a time, or none if you don't want them to do copies at all, or if you don't want them to be prompt. This will be preset when you get your Hootbooth. We do turn on these two, which will scale the photo to paper size and also automatically rotate the layout for paper orientation. Send to account. Send to account is the ability for the user to send to a key account. So this would be your account or your client's account. You would be pre-logged into your own Facebook page, for instance, and users at the end of their photo booth session would be able to upload directly into your Facebook account. Alternatively, they could go to these different other options: SmugMug, Twitter, Pixel, different, even a custom upload, and Twitter. On Send to Guest, this is where users would be prompted to send to their own Facebook album or their own Twitter account. They could also send by email or send to mobile. Send by email uses, where's email? We recommend using sendgrid.com. You can go to sendgrid.com right here by clicking here and get a free account with up to 12,000 emails per month for free. This will allow SendGrid to work right from Sparkbooth, and users can email their images directly to them using Sparkbooth right here. Another option to turn on is Send to Phone. This is the ability with Twilio.com. There is an integration with Mogreet, which we haven't used here at Hootbooth, but Twilio, an account, they will give you an account SID and an authorization token, and once you log in and put this information in here, you'll be given a phone number, and users would then be able to send through the internet directly to their phones, right out of this Sparkbooth software. Twilio does have a fee of 2 pennies per send, and they have a small fee for the phone number when you purchase that. But it's very affordable, and it is a favorite of Photobooth guests, being able to send directly to their phone. Also, it's really quick and a lot easier to get the images onto a guest's phone and let them upload to Facebook or Twitter or Instagram from their phone, rather than trying to do it and put their credentials in right on the kiosk. Send Photos Later is the ability for the software to queue up the images if you do not have an internet access, if you do not, if your internet comes and goes. Remember, send a guest to a Facebook account or send to an account. These things require a solid internet connection or they won't work. So if your internet comes or goes, or the bandwidth falls out because you're at a large public event, then they'll be queued up here if you turn this on, and it will save those photos to send them at a later time. It's also a good way to review the image content if you have someone who, a client who would like to make sure before they get posted into a Facebook account that they are reviewed. You can come in here and select or delete or select all, and make sure that what's getting uploaded has been reviewed somewhat. Messages is the next tab down, and Messages is the capability to go in and change the UI. With messaging, you can go in and change please wait developing photos to something like creating the template. Just something to message differently to your users, your Photobooth guest, so that they know what's going on. Under done, instead of thank you, you might have your company name. Thank you, visit us again. Your URL. You might have more instruction. email your photos. Anything you like. The point here is that there's information here that can be changed. I recommend that you monitor your guests, and if there's something that you think you can make clearer that's not really messaged correctly in the software, that you go in and you change it up. Press space bar to begin does not belong on a touch screen, so that's one thing that, you know, might be changed to touch screen to begin. On the next tab down is photo album. We talked a little bit at the beginning about the photo album. These are the options that are turned on currently. Let's turn on Facebook, email, Pinterest, Twitter, and we'll hit close. The view album is up here at the right. If we touch on this, there's no photos in here, but with photos in there, those options would be, all these options that we checked would be in the album. A typical setup for us is not to have these on, but only to allow guests when they return after their session is over, if they come back 5 minutes later, 10 minutes, or an hour later, is to allow them to do a copy. And sometimes we're using the album ourselves when 10 guests get in, and we will use the album to custom order more prints just on the fly, so that we're just doing it as we see the need, so that everyone gets a print that wants one. Counters. The counters are built into the system. This is something that you would manually come in and hit reset in order to, after each session, so that you would, or photo booth event, so that you would actually get the benefit of these and actually see it. Something you can do, but you would do it manually. Under the premium tab, there's a couple of things that can be used inside here. The main thing is I suggest you come in here and enable the custom file name and put your business name on the prefix or some variation of your business name. As the images get propagated out into the social media sites, those crawlers will pick up on that name and it will help your SEO. Resizing to 80% is a good idea. This will make it a quicker output for uploading. There's a custom Facebook app that you can go and follow the Facebook prompts. Facebook will give you an app ID and an app secret, and then they will give you your own domain, and that in itself will allow you to have a custom Facebook experience rather than having a generic one. Same thing with Twitter. You can also import or export your configuration. So if you get done with your setup and you like the way things are running, you might export that small file and keep it on your desktop, so that if you ever need to reinstall or have to re-import those configurations, you can do that really quickly and be right back where you were. So I'm going to hit close. That's it for this software overview. I hope this has been helpful. Be sure to look for our other tutorials that go more in depth on how to work with the templates and how to work with the other pieces of the software.